Look, video game movies aren't very good. Is it bad directors, bad properties, bad stories? Who knows? But most aren't good. But some have been fine. Not much more, but some aren't bad. This is a list of them. I'm not ranking them, mind you. I'm just informing you, the viewer, that these are video game movies that aren't that bad. Okay, let's begin. Detective Pikachu. Right out of the gate, I figured why bother waiting. Detective Pikachu is the best of these, largely because it's the only one I'd call great. And yes, it truly is great. While some have complained about the story being really simple, honestly a simple story was all that it really needed. The heavy lifting was in the world building. That's what needed the focus for the first outing, and they hit it right out of the park. Couple that with some solid performances and impressive effects, and the movie was one that earned my love. It was fun. It brought me back to the days of waking up to watch the anime in the mornings. I just can't complain. Taking a different approach than anyone expected certainly paid off. While a Pokemon Red and Blue adaptation was the expected choice, going with Detective Pikachu just makes more sense now. It's weird, so fans don't have to get up in arms if Red or Team Rocket aren't perfect. It allows newcomers to grasp what Pokemon are before delving heavily into the Battle and League stuff, and it means the mythology doesn't have to be fully explained. It allows for a simple frame of the world. As a longtime fan, I was utterly pleased watching this, and I sincerely hope they do more. If for no other reason than because the world is already established, meaning the sequels can go deeper with the themes. Super Mario Bros. And staying with Nintendo, yes, this isn't a good movie, but it's got a worse reputation than it deserves. Again, this isn't a list of great video game movies, only one of those exists and I just talked about it. So why add the Super Mario Bros. Movie? Well, because it's not that bad. It's okay-ish. Yeah, disregarding how inaccurate it is to the source, it really isn't one of the worst movies ever made. Cheesy and poorly written, sure, but it's kind of fun as far as gritty reimaginings go. While I have heard it was a nightmare working on this film on set, the performances are kind of charming in a way. Not good, but I can enjoy what's being done. Honestly, despite much hype around this as one of the worst movies ever made, revisiting as an adult reveals that it's not good, but also not as bad as you'd expect. Between some of the fun effects and performances, I think this would be a cult favorite these days, if it didn't have the same name. Because that's really the worst offense. As an adaptation, this has nothing to do with Super Mario Bros.
Luigi, Mario!
Daisy!
You gotta come with me, I need your help.
What's wrong?
You're never gonna believe this.
I believe it.
You do?
I believe.
Street Fighter. Speaking of kind of charming performances, Street Fighter, the Van Damme one. Maybe I'm completely wrong. I'll admit I'm not too deep in the Street Fighter lore. I barely remember the anime movie, so I gotta ask, what's so insulting about this one? Sure, it's not a tournament, but I feel the basics are there. And Bison is a bad guy, there's good guys, they fight. I mean, at the point that this movie was made, there weren't that many Street Fighter games, were there? I feel like it was what it needed to be at that point. A cheesy Saturday morning-like kids movie. Outside the Saturday morning-like charm, what really makes this movie work for me is the performances. Everyone is clearly having fun with the cheese of it all, and I have a hard time saying it's not endearing. Of course the MVP is Raul Julia as M. Bison. This was his final role, and he did it for his kids, and yeah, I can see he put his heart into it, delivering one of the silliest yet most badass FUs in movie history.
I'm sorry. I don't remember any of it.
You don't remember?
For you, the day Bison graced your village was the most important day of your life. But for me, it was Tuesday.
Even if you dislike the movie, it's hard to hate on the performance. And yeah, in case you're wondering, that's Ming-Na Wen as Shun Lee. Rampage. Video game movies have come so far, and yeah, this is proof of it. Prior to Detective Pikachu, this was the best video game movie for a whole year. Wow. A fun, not particularly bright kaiju film that delivers what you'd expect out of a monster film. Destruction. It's not the most accurate adaptation. For example, the monsters are mutated animals in this one, but it's about as solid as you can get with a simple premise. And that's all it really needed to do. The Rock is fun as always in the lead role, while we get some good moments from Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Realistically, the only reason why I wouldn't call this great is that, much more than Detective Pikachu, I think this movie is really only easy to recommend if the person it's being recommended to already loves giant monster movies. Otherwise, you might be better off skipping this one.
No!
Angry Birds. Finally, ending off this list, it's Angry Birds. Look, this one's okay. It's nothing special even for kids' entertainment, but that they managed to make a decent movie out of the Angry Birds franchise is pretty noteworthy. I mean, just look at the original. What about those round bird screams cinematic? Turns out all they needed was a redesign and some talented voice work and the movie went by fine. It's not great again. It's honestly not one I'd recommend to adults all that much, but it's got a few good gags. The animation is neat, and if nothing else, it's at least apparent that the movie was made with love.
Oh wow, it's him.
We'll be getting the sequel soon, so let's see if they can keep it up. Personally, I hope so. I like that video game movies are now inching more and more to being consistently entertaining. That all being said, I still think Detective Pikachu is still going to be the best one for the foreseeable future. Unless that Minions Mario Bros. Movie turns out to be good. Or that Sonic movie. Sure. See you next time.